We're live. Feel free to share. I saw a play one time about the Upper Peninsula, and it was a comedy, and it was slapsticky, and there was a slow motion sequence about a fart where they jingle the lights and everything. Well, there it is. I just remember hearing, I would hear Steve Dahl's wife was from Detroit, and she would just talk about her dad dragging them out to those stupid ass games on thing. And back when they were outside, it was freezing and awful, and they would get creamed, and it was just, you had to go. You just couldn't not do it. You had to go.
Okay. Hey. There we are. I think we're there. I think we got it. All right. Hey, it's the Brad and Britt cast. It's our one and only this week.
Yeah,
treasure it. Enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
We're taking the rest of the week off because, of course, Tuesday and Wednesday we prepare to watch the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving Day, like most of America does.
I was trying to think, can I name a Lion? I think Jared Goff. That would be the guy that got traded for Stafford. That would be the Lion that I could possibly name.
I can name one. Barry Sanders.
No, yeah, retired like 25 years ago. You're really close, though. You're in good shape.
Yale Larry.
I do know their coach, Dan Campbell, gets a lot of shit because he's basically Captain Caveman. He's a huge, massive Neanderthal, knuckle-dragging guy, and he makes hilarious comments at the post game. But that's enough about Thanksgiving football and the super fun that we're going to have.
Yeah.
Oh, good times.
But do I get to remind you again that I did go to one of those games?
Oh, did you really?
I've told you this.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember the story. You went to a Thanksgiving Day game, or?
Yes, in Detroit. Yes, yes.
Was it? It was when they were outside and it was cold as fuck. And
no.
Terrible?
They were in the Silver Dome.
Oh, okay.
This was that stadium that they built and then blew it up because it was so crappy. Yeah. Just another thing that got recalled in Detroit. Okay,
remember,
bring it back.
The Silver Dome.
It had the puffy roof. It had the puffy roof.
It did. It was the first one to have a puffy roof. And it was the side of the largest indoor crowd in North America, and it was Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant, WrestleMania 3. Yeah. That was your Silver Dome right there.
Yeah. So I was there in 1977.
Good Lord.
77? Yeah. 76, 77, 76, 77. And that was the year that they were playing the Buffalo Bills. And you know who the running back was, playing very well at that time for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. Orenthal James Simpson.
Yeah. Right. He did. Of course, he's still looking for the real killers. And on that day, he ran for more yards than any running back had ever run.
Isn't that
in
funny?
one game on that day? Of course, quickly eclipsed, but that was.
We thought OJ had gotten away with the greatest case of egregious murder getting off in history.
Yeah. Right, and this was many. This is like 20 years before that, but it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
That's
all right. Hey, you know what I learned yesterday, Sunday? I was watching this 60-minute show. Are you familiar with this program?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
How long is it?
And it's been on, again, even longer than, I don't know. And I learned that Caligula, the Roman emperor, who was in office for about 4 years, was the first victim of fake news, of getting a bad rap for things that he may not have done, that he wasn't quite as bad. He was only about 98%. So there was like a Steele dossier kind of thing on him, complete hoax, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing true. Of course, a lot of things in the Steele dossier were kind of true, but that doesn't matter because, you know, in the world in which we live, it's the one drop rule. If one letter is wrong, it's a hoax, and nothing matters, and Trump's innocent, right? Of course. But Caligula had apparently just a great guy, loved children, grew flowers, gave to charity.
If I may read from the
here's the irony. The irony is they assigned Anderson Cooper to do that story.
I was looking.
Okay.
This is the actual transcript from Andrew Wallace Hadrill, who was the guy that he sat down with. Did Caligula impregnate his sister and eat her baby? Andrew Wallace Hadrill. Caligula did not impregnate his sister and eat her baby.
See?
Well, See? Wait, but look at the way he said it though. He didn't say that he did, and did he do either of those things? That's what he should have asked, because he's trying to get away with a little word trick there. Anderson Cooper asked, did Caligula make a horse a high-ranking senator or consul? Answer, no, of course he didn't. Did he turn his palace into a brothel? No. These are all answers from the guy that Anderson Cooper was talking to on 60 Minutes last night.
Well, but wait, I know that stuff's all true. I saw it in a movie.
Well, that's the problem.
They made a movie about him, and they would never make anything into a movie without all the facts. All right, enough of that. Speaking of faking it and getting away with it, I can't believe it. Today, in the Washington Post, they have a big long piece that the prosecutors are finally getting around. They're finally getting around to trying to nail Trump's fat ass for lying about the value of his properties, where he inflates the value of the property when he wants to borrow money on it. How much is that building worth? $550 million, the one on 44 Wall Street. Okay, so here's $250 million. You can borrow 50%. And then 3 months later, the tax people come around for property taxes, whatever. And, well, what's the value? And apparently it dropped. He had a bad drop there from $550 million to only $14.7 million. It was just a crash. And so he would only pay property taxes on that amount. And one of my Facebook folks asked the best question, had the best comment about this story. Where the fuck in the world is it that the person who owns the property gets to name how much the property is worth? When your property taxes are sent to you in the money, when that little bill comes did somebody ask you?
Yeah, they just what they do. The county commissioners go, "How much do you think that's worth?" And I go, like 30,000. And I just sign it. Love Britt Whitmire, and they say, "Okay, we'll tax you on 30 grand. Here's the bill." That's how it works.
That's how it works. This is like I tried to think of the most idiotic analogy here. Okay, here it is. I got it. I just went and bought a luxury car, a $120,000 car. It's fantastic. And 3 months later, I'm a little bit, I got to sell it. And, you know, the minute you drive a car out of the showroom, it's worth 20% less. So now the car's only worth $100,000. And meantime, my, car tax thing comes in the mail, and they still value the car, $100,000. I got to pay car tax on it, right? And I have completely messed up this story, so I'm going to stop right there because I've crossed what I wanted to say. So just stop me, and I'm done. Move on. You know what I wanted to say. That you can't. In other words, you know where I was going with it, and I just said the opposite of what I meant to say. So I'm going to just stop. Okay.
I knew where you were going the whole time. Yeah. We were just getting into the Kyle Rittenhouse takes on Friday because the news was breaking when we came on, and now. Do you have any other Kyle Rittenhouse takes? I think he sat down now with stupid ass Tucker Carlson, and apparently they're doing something for Fox Nation. If you can't get enough hate out of Fox News, you can pay like $10 a month and get special streaming stuff on their app called Fox Nation.
Well, first of all, here obviously, this is causing, I guess, a level of fake outrage within Fox News and the old, well, there's the opinion side and then there's the real news side.
I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired of that.
First, we have two of the opinion guys who have basically been put on the bench anyway for the last couple years. Stephen Hayes is a good writer, and
Jonah
Jonah
Goldberg.
Goldberg, also a good writer. So they finally said, we can't take it anymore. We're out. Okay. And then on top of that, you have two of the quote real news people, Chris Wallace and Brett Baer, saying, we are really, really disturbed. This is Susan Collins kind of shit. We're very disturbed that Tucker Carlson is basically sucking up to Kyle Rittenhouse and turning him into a hero. And really that hurts our reputation, blah. And they got to quit. If they don't quit, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing, Brett Baer and Chris Wallace. And by the way, both of you have enough money. You got enough. You can do it. Okay. You can do other stuff. Chris Wallace is about 75 years old, by the way, even though his hair, like his old man's, looks like he's 48. Right? Remember how Mike Wallace had black hair till he was 90? Then the last 3 years, he got a little bit gray, and then he died. So that's that part of it. The other part of it is, I mean, and this was already in the water over the weekend, that Kyle Rittenhouse, the first thing he says, well, I support Black Lives Matter.
That's what he says. Okay.
Now, right. Now, how do the Fox people, how do the people who think he is a hero, how do the people who hold him up as some kind of avatar for white gun rights, I don't know what else to call them, white Second Amendment rights, at the same time look the other way when young Kyle, who had this wonderful judgment to do what he did, taking a gun and showing up at this riot here to protect property that wasn't his, is his judgment in supporting Black Lives Matter at any level. And let's say he doesn't even know what that means. It doesn't matter. He said it, right? It doesn't matter. He did say it. Normally, that would disqualify you for hero status in the world of Fox and right wing and all that shit, right? So how do they square that? And the answer is, I got it. You ready? This is just like with Trump. Occasionally, Trump would say something cogent. Remember how he would say something cogent?
Hard to remember, but yes, yeah, once in a while.
He did. For instance, in fact, I can give you an example today. Today, Biden reappointed to head the Federal Reserve Trump's appointee, Jerome Powell. Okay. So Trump did a few things that are actually defendable. So what would happen when they would ignore it, right? Fox would ignore that. They'd move on. They'd pretend it never happened. That's how they did it. And that's what they'll do with little Kyle and that Black Lives Matter remark that he made. Did you see the Rittenhouse rye story? Holy shit!
Yeah, they have sworn it off. They've said that they don't want people celebrating by buying their whiskey to celebrate this little punt getting off. I did see that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a big alcohol expert here. Has that brand been around for 100 years or something? Is that like
I think it's been around for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. So people went out and thought that was a great way to celebrate, and so they don't want to end up like let's see, we had AIDS, the diet candy, we had Corona beer, right, with the coronavirus, and
that's
now
correct.
We have Rittenhouse rye with Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, boy,
it's an unfortunate name. You just never know. You have no idea.
Yeah. Now, if it's a good thing that the guy who was driving the car up in Wisconsin that ran over those people, that his name wasn't Miller or Budweiser or Coors, right?
Oh,
okay.
It was in Waukesha, Wisconsin. They have named the guy up there who drove into the crowd, and I don't know if we're going to assign any sort of motives to that or not, but we'll see what happens. Daryl Edward Brooks, not a Wayne, a Lee, or a Ray. He's been identified as a suspect in that Waukesha crash.
When it turns out that this guy apparently may just be a common loser street thug who was in a fight, who drove like an idiot, and I don't know whether you're supposed to feel better about that than you would if it turned out it was some kind of political motive. I don't know what.
Yeah.
The fact that it happened is the story, and the reasons are terrible no matter what they are, but
Back to the sit down with Tucker. That's the FoxNews.com version of that story. The subheadline does note that Mr. Rittenhouse says he supports the BLM movement and he supports peacefully demonstrating. That's what he says, and that's what he told Tucker Carlson in their sit down.
Yeah, see that's the problem. When he says I support the BLM, and then says I support peaceful demonstrate. You know what? I support breathing air, drinking water, and waking up in the morning too. There is not an opposite side. I don't support peaceful demonstrating. I only support violent demonstrating. Nobody says that. So again,
AOC says that. AOC says that all the time.
For the record, let it be said that he has the exact same birthday. I think it's January 3rd, 2001 or 2003, I think, with Greta Thunberg, the Swedish climate activist. They were born on the same day. So for those of you who think there's some kind of sign associated with birth dates and all that, think of those two people. Think of the directions that those two.
She's out there doing awful things, and he's out there being a hero. See, that's exactly. They went in very different directions.
And by the way, I did check within minutes, maybe within seconds, and it was while we were doing our podcast last Thursday that the verdict was read. It was while we started recording, and within seconds, they obviously had this pre-prepared. It's like an obituary ready to run when someone famous dies. Yeah. The NRA tweeted out the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the tweet was. It was just the Second Amendment. I'm Kyle Rittenhouse, and I'm the NRA.
It seems like, I don't know. It seems like crossing state lines and killing people is pretty good business. Been pretty good for his career. I don't know if one of the big talent firms in LA, I don't know if CAA or somebody will get in touch with him and try to rep him, but it looks like he's in pretty good shape, right?
No, he's untouchable. He's untouchable.
And by untouchable, you mean he'll be a millionaire by this time next year?
No, he won't.
Oh, but the NRA is completely corrupt, and they'll give him thousands of dollars of speaking fees to go out and be their hero. They'll do shit like that, and won't they pay him to go to CPAC and all this other horse shit? Won't he make good bucks off of that shit?
That seems like the obvious way that things are, but I'm not sure it's going to happen this time because the NRA doesn't really need him. They don't. Or on the other hand, maybe they do.
They do.
Maybe he's the next generation. They can sweep away all these old fossils like Wayne LaPierre and all these corrupt people and bring in a young, fresh, passionate person like this guy. So yeah, you could be right.
Well, look, there he is. If you put that face in a commercial, I'm buying a gun. Come on, tell me you're not. Tell me you're not headed out to get a military style weapon. If you see that should be they should put his name on the box of that picture on the box of ammo, just like Wheaties or some shit. That's what it should be. That should be him breaking down, crying, and going into a fit of a panic attack on the stand. That's the kind of guy I want owning a gun, by the way, especially a military style weapon.
Well, I mean, and we've talked about guns and gun safety and gun control forever our whole lives, but it really seems that this is a pivot moment here in the movement. And forget one step forward, two steps back. This is one step forward, about 12 steps back, and there's going to be about 25 more steps backwards if and when the Supreme Court rules as it's believed that they're going to in the New York concealed carry case, which is before the court right now. And if they strike down that law, that would effectively strike down every local gun ordinance about concealed carry. Everything will be open carry, basically, the whole country. The same people who claim that, for instance, elections must be handled at the local level. We don't want a federal law passed part of what's going, because the Constitution says that states and localities run elections, but they're more than happy. They're more than happy to have the Supreme Court rule across America, in effect, that everybody can carry. And this is going to look like, pick the most cliched old Western movie where everyone in town had a gun.
Yeah.
Except the difference is back then, everyone in town had a gun. And the only way that the whole town had a gunfight was, when something really weird happened. But everybody respected each other. And people think that the more guns, the more respect. And we've seen now, it doesn't quite work that way all the time. But is Kyle Rittenhouse, this is the rhetorical question, is Kyle Rittenhouse the new face of the good guy with a gun? Remember, because that's the line. Good
of course
guy
he
with a gun,
is.
not bad. And the floodgates are going to open on this. I mean, we've already got more than one gun per person in the United States, right? There are way more than 350 million. So we're already overcrowded on that one. So
right.
Clearly, we've got to get those numbers up even higher.
It's not that everybody has. It's just like the people that have guns have 30 of them. That's how the average kind of fucks around. And
but the quote that you pulled that started with "I support Black Lives Matter and I support peaceful protest."
Yeah.
By definition, Kyle went to a protest armed to the teeth. And because of his actions, it was not a peaceful protest. So,
well, that's how I see it. Yeah, that's how you and I see it. And apparently, that's not how the jury saw it, though. Unfortunately, the people who were
but the jury, of course, remember the jury wasn't deciding that. The jury was deciding.
The person again
was deciding.
Wisconsin law says that. Wisconsin law says that if you charge into the situation and cause the problem, you lose your right to self-defense. They didn't find that. They didn't find that he lost the right to self-defense by causing the problem. That's why he's a free man today, or a free boy.
That's right. He was able to convince them, and we laughed at the whole crying bit. But he had them utterly, completely convinced that he was afraid for his life, and that any movement by the other people towards him, whether it was with a skateboard or with a gun in their hand, that instantly endangered his life, and he had to act in self-defense.
Right, and it wasn't him creating. It wasn't him charging the situation or creating it. It was just him defending it. Now, when you saw him crying,
that's not what they decide. You're right. They're not allowed to decide.
That's correct.
That. They're not allowed.
When you,
idiotic. It's crazy.
Well, in fact, they decided that he was defending himself, that he was in the right, and that was self-defense. That's what they have decided in that case.
That's right.
So, I mean, when you saw him up there losing his shit and crying and having a panic attack on the stand, what was your thought? What did you think when you saw that?
I thought he was acting.
Well, okay, I'll give you that one. Crocodile tears. I heard a lot of that. Here's what I was thinking. I'm thinking this is an emotionally unstable person, and I don't want them owning a firearm. That's what I was thinking. But I'm crazy. I'm nuts. I'm out of my mind.
Well, first of all, of course, that's right. And second of all, he was 17.
Right.
But they managed to find a little hole to drive a truck through about the technicalities surrounding the length of the gun that he had in his possession, albeit not legally. That meant that he wasn't technically breaking some kind of Wisconsin gun law. So again, can't consider that. Can't bring that up. Okay. And by the way, when you do something really, really dumb, when you're 14 and you go drinking and you take somebody's car and you plow it into a pole, that would be as if your mom and dad, they're not allowed to take into consideration the fact that you shouldn't have been there, you shouldn't have been drinking, and that you shouldn't have taken the car. They're only allowed to take into consideration how much money they owe the property owner that you ran into. Okay, that's all that matters, right?
Why did they put
all that matters?
Why did they put that dangerous pole there? Why did they do that? That's the problem here. Clearly, that's what we have to consider. This pole was put here incorrectly.
Has that analogy helped me to recover from my completely screwed up attempt at the Trump building analogy.
You're back to even. The other trial that we're looking at, of course, is in Brunswick, Georgia, where they're making closing arguments now in the trial of the guys who murdered. I'm sorry, is that too charged a word? Ahmaud Arbery, who was poking around in a house that was under construction, and guys chased him down and then gunned him down. And of course, the real problem in this case, if you've been following this, is that Jesse Jackson is in the courtroom. That is the problem in this case, is that Jesse Jackson has decided to be a spectator in a courtroom that is open to, I don't know, humanity. So are we setting ourselves up for another massive fail here in Brunswick, Georgia, Brad?
I'm not sure. I haven't followed this minute by minute, but I think that these guys are going to get convicted. I don't think they're going to walk. I think this is more Derek Chauvinist than Kyle Rittenhouse-ish in terms of the incontrovertible evidence that they just went after a guy. And I think there's a big gap if you want to, since we need to make comparisons, because we really can't think individually. We always have to have analogies and comparisons. The idea that these guys were trying to enact a citizen's arrest to this guy. That's their defense.
Yeah,
no, that is their defense.
Yeah, it is.
That is way, way weaker of a defense for killing someone than, and think of the most pathetic interpretation of whatever you think Kyle Rittenhouse did. Whatever that is, it's still better than what these guys, I think, have in Georgia in killing this man. Okay. I think it's a lot better. And I don't think they're going to be able to get away with this because, and I'm not a lawyer and I didn't go to law school, but I do recall reading in one of those classes that I took or later on that you're really not allowed to shoot someone and kill them or injure them,
right?
Because of property. It's not the same as
your
life.
In some states, that's, I think in Texas you can shoot them over property, but yeah, in most places you are not allowed to do that.
Right. It's just not the same. Now, I understand that your president quoted that of several years ago. Your president Donald Trump quoted that Miami police chief from the '60s: "When the looting starts, the shooting starts."
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that, but
so
that
helpful.
is not the law of the land. Right.
So helpful.
It's not the law of the land.
No, it's in the Constitution. Isn't that like Amendment 26 or something? I mean, it's the one that it's like the team that says when the looting starts, the shooting starts. I remember that one. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting.
We'll see. By the time a lot of people are hearing us, there's going to be a court decision, and the jury will have decided.
Well, I assume that if this goes out and those men are acquitted, then Kyle Rittenhouse, being a supporter of Black Lives Matter, will march for justice for Ahmaud Arbery, since he's such a fan. I'm assuming that's what would happen.
Yes, let's nationalize all of these and just make it one big, like Comic-Con.
It's like
everybody get together. Yeah,
Kyle. And honestly, it's too bad. Was that like a thing this year? I mean, that would have been a good. Well, it would have also been a frightening Halloween costume to have that little punk ass with his head turned around backwards and a fake gun walking around that's my Halloween costume. And then you could just act like you were crying. Now, that would be you would be that little asshole. It's 211.4 miles, Google tells me, Brad, from Brunswick, Georgia to Orlando, Florida, where Ron DeSantis now, the governor of the great state of Florida, has initiated some great change in this country where Disney has paused its worker vaccine mandate. They've said, fuck that, because the Florida law has changed, and God bless America, Brad. That's what I give thanks for this Thanksgiving. The great Ron DeSantis letting freedom ring all over the Sunshine State.
The timing on this kind of stuff just couldn't be worse.
Yeah.
The timing on letting up here could not be worse. I call to your attention the numbers on COVID across the country right now. And this is the one that should get everyone's attention. Let's dial the clock back 1 year. At that point, no one had gotten a vaccine. No one. It was
We were
about
hearing
to
about
happen,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Right after the election, right? They announced it, and we were starting. But at this moment, country is averaging more than 1,100 deaths a day. That's almost the same number that were dying last year at this time before anyone had been vaccinated. So why is that? Well, I'm an anti-vaxxer. That's proof that the vaccines don't work. No, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. Remember, last year, that was before the Delta virus, right? And now we have the Delta virus. Way, way, way more contagious. So it's way more contagious within the smaller pool of people, because those of us who are vaccinated, those of us who are triple vaccinated, we're pretty good. And now some places, 20, 25% of the cases that end up in the hospital, they are people who are vaccinated. Is that because the vaccination doesn't work? No. It's very possible that you got it 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago and it is waning. And you're a fucking moron for not getting your third one already.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you waiting for?
Right.
So to let up right now and have in these states like Florida all kinds of laws passed saying that you can't mandate vaccines for workers is terrible. And Britt, right where we are in the great state of North Kakalaki, North Carolina, and in the county that we're in, just last week, what did they do? They voted to lift the mandate on people wearing masks in grocery stores and places like that, unless the store wants to do it themselves. There's no county rule. So they're letting up at the very, like, we just will not learn this lesson. Why? Because freedom. Because freedom. And because Bill fucking Maher, 3 weeks on his show, declared, I'm done with coronavirus. It's over. We're done with it. Okay?
Isn't it weird? Isn't that odd? Isn't it strange? Well, no, he's been really weird lately because he doesn't have any children, and he's usually like, "Oh, you stupid parents, and you're being over ridiculous about your parent." And then lately, he's been throwing up flags about critical race theory. I don't know. They might have some good ideas about. I see how they're. What the fuck, dude? You're usually like the poster child for you reactionary parents. You need to shut the fuck up. But now all of a sudden, I don't understand what he's doing right now, other than being a contrarian.
You can just stop right there. That's what you just said.
That's it.
But we just cannot get it through our thick skulls collectively that the virus it's just not cooperating with us the way we want to.
Right.
It's just not going away. It just won't leave, and it hangs around and it finds the most vulnerable. And if everybody gathers together and pretends that it's all over over Thanksgiving and Christmas, and with traveling as it is, we're setting ourselves up. Even with the small, there are several states now where the hospitals are overrun now.
Yeah.
Right now.
And the people who supposedly love the healthcare workers and have been putting out signs, they don't give a shit about them.
Oh, some that's so far. That is so far in the past. Don't even bring that up.
They're yelling in nurses' faces and shit. I mean, they don't even care. But now, I mean, Disney going along with this shit and throwing up their hands and going, well, what are you going to do? It's a state, it's a state law. We can't really do anything. We have to pretty much just go along with the program on this one, and we're good to go. And DeSantis is really positioning himself as the guy. He's going to be the guy if Donald John Trump decides not to run. He's killing. Greg Abbott's having trouble in Texas himself. DeSantis is your front leader if Donald John Trump Sr. does not run for president, I think, in 2024.
Colorado, Idaho, New Mexico, they're in crisis standards of care at their hospitals. Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, at or near the brink. So it's just as we were told. It would move from place to place. There would be spikes. There would be waves. It would move in. It would move out. It was the hokey pokey of diseases.
When you go to the store now around your area where you live, are you seeing more and more assholes not wearing masks? Because I am.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Most people are, and the workers are, and generally people respect it, but that doesn't matter if on the margins people just start to lay back.
It's true.
It's going to come back,
and your health officials are looking
right here if it hasn't already.
Your health officials are saying, well, you need to look at Eastern Europe, and Eastern Europe is going through just a hellish time right now, and with this variant, and they're having a tough time, and they're like, that could be our future.
I don't even know where that is on a map. What are you talking about? That doesn't relate to me.
Eastern Europe, the Alabama and Mississippi of the continent. That's what that is. Hey, let me play this, and I want you to be able to see if you can hear it. And if you can't, we'll just get rid of it. This is Donald John Trump Sr. sitting down with Mark Levin. This is him and some stuff. I'm only playing this because it's going to drive you absolutely insane. You ready?
Yeah.
This is from of course Levin's highly rated Fox News channel. Now, if you can't hear this or the audio sucks, we'll ditch it and do something else. Okay?
Yeah. First of all, I haven't seen anything new produced under this president. But this Operation Warp Speed, you had to take on the bureaucracy. You had to set up supply chains. You had to do something that's never been done in American history.
Well, that's absolutely correct. Most vaccines take 12 years. They said this would take anywhere from 3 to 5, but most likely more than 5. And I got it done in less than 9 months. And we saved tens of millions of lives all over the world, So in 1917, as you know, we had the Spanish.
Would you like to talk about 1917 first off? Because that's usually your stopping.
I like that you still have to reference the wrong year.
Wrong year every time
for the probably badly named Spanish flu of 1918. But is there more?
Yeah,
Spanish flu it was called, and it possibly killed as many as 100 million people. You know, I don't know if you read the history of the Spanish flu, but I think you read about everything. Come to think of it, but. It probably was a thing that was most responsible for ending World War I.
Now, did you know that? Were you aware of that? The Spanish flu is what ended World War I mostly. I knew it would drive you ape shit.
By the way, that's the least of the bullshittish tone of that.
I love how he likes to pass himself off as some effete like Harvard historian in the study with his leather patches on his sports car. You know, I don't know if you know this, if you read a lot of the things, but they're saying it's pretty much the reason that World War I ended.
Britt, can you ask Alexa or Google, do you have that handy to say, why did World War I end? Can you do it?
No, I can't do it from where I am. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back to this.
But it probably was a thing that was most responsible for ending World War I.
No.
Because all the soldiers were sick.
All were sick.
And many were dying.
Yeah.
The Spanish flu was devastating. And they say up to 100 million people died. And it probably did end World War I.
Probably did.
But 100 million people. I think this would have been similar without the vaccine. Had we not gotten, and then I got Regeneron. We got remdesivir. We got many other things, therapeutic things that really, in my opinion, worked. I think Regeneron's great. Eli Lilly came out with something that's similar. We did a great job. And you know, it's interesting. So we did it in less than 9 months.
That's the whole clip. We were sent that by one of our fans on Twitter who caught that and thought that you would enjoy hearing some of the great historical facts given out there by Donald John Trump Sr.
I mean, I'm looking. This according to the BBC. Now, Britain tends to be involved in these world wars, so they kind of know.
Yeah.
By the autumn of 1918, Germany and its allies were racked with the Spanish flu, and they realized it was no longer possible to win the war because of Spanish flu. No, that's not what it says. No. It says the Germans knew that they had no chance and they were fighting alone. All their allies had abandoned them. They could not win. The leaders of the German army told the German government to end the fighting. The government asked the U.S. for an armistice on an agreement to stop the fighting, and Kaiser Wilhelm left his job in November of 1918. 2 days later, they signed the armistice and the guns fell. Of course, there's just nothing in here. There's fucking nothing in here.
Well, nobody would help Germany out because they had too many sick soldiers. Can't you get A to B? How can you not see the connection?
Right. Well, and you know, everything everything is a rewrite of history. Just put that aside for a second. This whole shit about how Trump single-handedly developed the vaccine. Without him, none of the companies would have been interested in developing a vaccine. And no other president who would have been in office at the time would have been interested in using government aid and government research along with private business to develop a vaccine. Only Trump would have thought of that. And not only that, other presidents would have said, yeah, get back to me in 5 years. That would be good because it always takes at least 10.
That's right.
They all would have said, but only the force. And Britt, the way he says it to that audience, to the believers, it sounds completely reasonable.
It's settled history. Well, and also, I mean, I know that Ted Cruz, like when the vaccine was coming out, was like, yeah, and what country was it that came out with that vaccine? And he was reminded, well, it was a couple of Turkish immigrants who fled to Germany. They're pretty much the people responsible. Little company called BioNTech. You might want to look into it, Senator Cruz. I know you're busy on these trips to Mexico.
They're the ones along with Pfizer, right?
Yeah, exactly. So again, the American exceptionalism bullshit has to always come through as well, which is crazy. Speaking of Trump, now have you had a chance to see the guy that is doing Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live, James Austin Johnson?
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
He's I think he's amazing. I think he's got the tics and the verbal stuff down. And he does it better than I think anybody's ever done it. I mean, it's really, really good.
You know, the actual voice isn't perfect, but the affectations are so outrageously on, and they're so weird. And when you see someone do it, you realize how weird they are, because no other human being in history has ever spoken like that. And to see it mimic perfectly is quite striking. So I agree. Yeah.
Are you like me? I'm a little misgiven because I think it's great. I think it's fantastic comedy, but at the same time, I'm kind of scared that he's making this guy into something that doesn't look as dangerous as we need to remember what this guy was. To me, that's what's happening.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think that's happening? Because to me, it feels like, to a lot of America, he's the crazy guy and he's talking about Game of Thrones and shit like that and going off on tangents, which I think is helpful for the people who think that, Joe Biden is just a dementia-filled miscreant because Trump was able to ramble on with the best of them. But I'm just afraid that people are going to see him as a comic figure and not the dangerous, possibly America-ending figure that he truly is.
Well, I think you're unfortunately onto something in general.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's specific to this moment, because here we're coming up on 1 year past January 6th, and there's been a nonstop pronounced effort to change the facts, change the tone, change the intent, change those who are responsible into victims, political prisoners of a moment, and to justify what they did. Because, of course, Donald Trump has not conceded the election to Joe Biden because he believes, not unlike Kyle Rittenhouse, that his life was in danger. Donald Trump believes that he won the election. And you saw what happened with Kyle Rittenhouse. They believed it, and they let him go. And if Donald Trump just believes that he really won the election, I guess he should be let go and allowed to run again, right? That's Kyle Rittenhouse style justice applied to politics in a way with Trump. I know that's a real stretch, but I'm just trying to put things together as they come down the assembly line here. And I don't think that you have to worry about the tone of Saturday Night Live homogenizing Donald Trump and making him acceptable. That's not what's going on.
So much of this stuff, though.
But it's like saying that like Nixon impressions all these years later make Nixon not as bad as he was. Well, nothing can be as bad as the real one. And yes, people don't know their history.
Yeah.
And I was like, I put up a Facebook post today, and I said, today is 11/22, November 22nd.
Right.
And that truly is one of the days, especially if you're old enough, to be able to say, I know where I was when I heard the news. And the only other days that are really, truly comparable to that are September 11th, maybe when the Challenger blew up. A lot of people were really just tuned into that because it was an event, maybe the moon landing, and then maybe World War II, Pearl Harbor, if you're really, really old. And I said, everything else is just, and some guy got so outraged at me. He said, you're attacking an entire generation. I said, no, I'm not. It's just that every fucking thing that happens every 2 weeks is so important that you have to remember where you were when you heard it, right? You have to remember where you were when the last episode of Friends aired. Right? You have to remember. Pick some bullshit wrestling moment. You remember where you were? No, it doesn't matter. And I know where I was during certain sporting events. And it doesn't matter. There are only a few. And here we are. This is 58 years after John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And you'll notice it's going by and just nobody even mentions it anymore.
Right.
Nobody mentions it anymore. Now, next week or the week after next is 80 years since Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
80. So since it's a round number, it will get a little bit more attention. And there's still a few people still left, right? They're 90s or over 100. So we don't have very many of those people left. But other than that, yes, people forget. But Trump is, for the purpose of the discussion, he is our Hitler. He's left an impression on this country that is going to last for a long, long time. And, look at the way, and I don't know exactly how it's done. Hitler is taught in Germany to Germans.
That's correct.
Even
though there's no
hero,
there's no statues of him, so they don't know who he is. In order to have someone be remembered in history, you have to have a statue of them. And somehow Germany has failed terribly and needs. By the way, Angela Merkel, before she leaves office, needs to build several statues of Hitler so people will know who he is. That's what I've been told.
Of course. All right. By the way, I happen to, and this will just be between us because I know you're like one of the biggest Cleveland Indians fans ever, and I'm sure you saw over the weekend that they tried to change the name of the little shop where they sell memorabilia and goods for the Cleveland Indians to Guardians, and of course the sign fell down. It's a complete representation.
It belonged to a roller derby team. They had to make some sort of legal deal with a roller derby team up here in Cuyahoga County.
Right. So they finally took care of that. But if you go, they're trying to get rid of Indians merchandise right now on their website. And here's the sad. You can't find. They're not selling anything with Chief Wahoo's face on it anymore. They already scrubbed that a couple years ago. You can't buy it there. Yeah. So.
I've got some of it here if anybody wants to make bids. I've got tons of the stuff here if you want to have make some bids on it for you racist bastards. I got a shirt I've got a shirt that's got the old Chief Wahoo on it that I don't even wear out that much because I'm so embarrassed by it.
Oh, the real skinny one with the
with the huge I've got. It's right behind me. I can grab it real quick if you want me to.
Yeah,
I rarely do.
Although we could get banned from Facebook forever. If you show this, just showing this for folks who are watching us, they're going to be able to get themselves a real treat if you've never seen this.
Let me see. Can you see okay there?
No, that's not the real old one. No, that was the updated one. No, that's not the real old one. No, The old one looks like a hag. Okay.
Yeah.
The old one looks like an old hag. And
this was like the 70s version, I think, of the guy.
Yeah. It sure was. That was the cleaned up version of it. It really was.
And it's still, I think, pretty embarrassing and awful and stuff. If I can get the goddamn, there he is. That's embarrassing and racist as fuck.
But that's not the worst one. The one from the 30s and 40s.
Well, as somebody is beating the shit out of me for being a racist, I'll point out to them, oh, that's not the worst one. There was one that was way worse than this.
Yeah, not the worst one.
I don't even wear that one out that much because and I think I've said that before here, is like I would be okay with the name or whatever. I was also okay with them changing it. And then the Indians, like a few years ago when they make the playoffs, 2016, had that great run in the World Series. Inevitably, they would show two assholes in the crowd at the stadium. And they would have the red paint on. They would have the white stuff out with the fake head dress. And I was like, that's just embarrassing. That's fucking blackface right there. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm not all right with that.
Now, speaking of Redskins, there was a headline in my my little local paper that said, Panthers play WTF today, Washington football.
It should be the WTF, no, WFT.
No, I'm sorry. It's again. How many more things can I blow today? And blow the punch. How many more? I just blew that one too. So you get they had it right. I had it wrong. All right. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next Monday. Right?
See ya.
Right.
Happy Thanksgiving from WKRP.